What is up, everybody? Strong lead hook here with Grizzy back at you again with some Path of Exile 2, Elden Ring DLC. How y'all doing today? Grizzy, you got anything?
Just doing Elden Ring DLC as was said, and I've made it through two of the first bosses, and right now I'm just doing some exploration. I do have a cave I'll probably do try to finish during this next hour of gameplay. How's everybody?
I've got. I'm playing the newest patch for Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt. Now, from what I was gonna do a stream of gameplay as soon as it came out, but so far it has not been good. I'm hearing a lot of negative feedback, and of course, with my personal experience. So for me, here's how it went down. My Eye Strike monk, it's not good. I'm at the end game with Eye Strike monk, and the maps have not been going good. I'm just rolling around all over the place. I'm dying all the time. I don't want to say my build is unusable, but for me to use that build, I have to just roll around and ice blast everybody. I'm hardly using the build. I can barely use Tempest Bell. For those of you that are playing with Monk, you know specifically what I'm talking about. It's hard to fight the rares, especially the ones with the temporal bubble. Now, I could optimize that build even more and optimize the gear. But how much of it is going to make a difference? You know, like I would have to spend a lot of resource mats to get that build to where it's half usable. Now, on the flip side, my experience with my Gemling Legionnaire has not been too bad, but I'm not at the end game yet. So the way it's looking like right now, my Gemling Legionnaire is gonna be my main build, and I'm gonna have the theory craft with my Eye Strike monk. Whereas before this patch, it was the other way around. There's a YouTube channel, his name's Hog. He's pretty big in the ARPG community, and he says that he's not having fun. And a lot
How you
a
spell
lot
that?
of HAWG. Now he's saying he's not having fun, and a lot of the other streamers, either they don't like it or they have mixed feelings about it. I'm in the mixed feelings camp because yeah, man, Eye Strike monk pretty much it's been gutted. My favorite build that I have, and it's not because the build is overpowered. I did not optimize that build because I'm having fun with the way the build is. I don't need to get Grim Feast or all the other overpowered stuff on that build, but they gutted an overpowered build, and the overpowered build that I was using is not optimized to be overpowered, so you can see how it's even worse. My version of the Eye Strike monk. But enough of that. Today I'm using the Gemling Legionnaire, and it has not been too bad. It has not been too bad with the Gemling Legionnaire. Somehow, Eye Strike monk, not fun. It sucks with this patch, Dawn of the Hunt. Gemling Legionnaire, not too bad. Not too bad. The gameplay is somewhat fun for me because Grizz and I are Souls players, so I can see that the direction that Grinding Gear Games is trying to go. They want like an ARPG Souls, right? They want like an ARPG Elden Ring. And I can see, in theory, it sounds good, but in practice, it sounds bad. Or in practice, it's terrible. The way they implemented their so-called vision, you know, you guys have heard Jonathan, the director, keeps going on and on about the vision. I can see 30% of what he's saying, but the the 60% of their implementation, the 70% of their implementation is just terrible. They didn't need to gut these builds. I Strike Monk, Gemling Legionnaire, and all the other overpowered. They should have piecemealed the nerfs instead of doing one big nerf. They should have piecemealed it with smaller hot fixes, right? Grim Feast was a good move. Tempest Bell, I don't want to get into it right now because I'm not showing you guys I Strike Monk. I'm showing the Mercenary Gemling Legionnaire. But at the end of the video, I'll talk about it some more. But I just want to go over... I'm going to show you guys the gameplay that I've got going on with the Gemling Legionnaire and hopefully provide some helpful commentary, some advice to the people out there. Everybody's jumping to the new class, the Huntress or the Leech Contagion. Rax has a... I saw that he released a video, the Essence Drain Contagion Lich build, but I haven't tried any of those yet because I'm making the hard push for my Gemling Legionnaire to reach the end game and to see if my build is viable. I was following a specific build guide before Dawn of the Hunt, but post Dawn of the Hunt, I'm kind of making my own build. Still Gemling Legionnaire, but as far as the passives go, I'll show y'all the passives. This is my passive skill tree right here. I know I'm making some mistakes here because my strength should be higher, but I've been putting some points in the dex and intelligence. I could optimize my gear a lot better to where I'm getting my necessary intelligence and dex requirements for gear. Armor sucks. Armor still sucks. I might take this down, refund this, and, you know, put it right here. That one skill point. Or I might take both of these down, refund both of these, and go in this direction. Quality. Right? Quality to all skills. I'm using the grenade. I'm still using Decompose. Still using it. Still using Decompose. Poison. Some of these skills, like the lightning shotgun, I don't use it. I just keep it on there. I should probably take it off, in all honesty, because I'm not even using it. I don't know what that does to my stats. Maybe that'll improve my stats. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna take it off. See what happens.
Real quick, for anybody who might not want to fight Rolana, I fought her. She is Renala's sister, but I also figured I found a shortcut. So you don't actually have to fight her. You can skip past her. And I'm going to do that right now just because somebody might want to know later on. But I wasn't even trying to skip the game. I was just playing around and I found this the other night. You have to, I forget what these things are called. The spots where your horse can jump up in the sky, you have to activate one. And it's over here on the map by the Elder's Hovel. And then we're going to go into Fort Reprimand, but we're also going to get out of there and we're going to run up here to where the map was. You can actually skip Rolana's castle, which is called Castle Insis, by doing this. I did tonight, but then I went back to the castle just for fun of it anyway. She was a pretty tough fight, but I'm doing that now.
Go to Grizz's channel and subscribe. I'll tag him in the video, but y'all go to his channel and subscribe.
Now, most people know this, but they don't think nothing about it. and I was just having fun. I wanted to try to get off. When I came up here, I didn't want to be up here, and I was trying to get out of here and go back to where I came from. So these boxes right here, you can crush them, but you can also jump on them. I'm going to crush it real quick, show you what I mean. See, you can crush them, but you can also jump on them. And that can be a bit... The developers, they know this, but everybody doesn't really think about stuff like, oh, I can't jump over the edge right here. I just can't. It won't let me. But I actually did jump on that fire. I didn't see that before. You can jump on these boxes, and you can jump right over the edge. Okay? Now we're going to go around to the back side of this castle. And we're going to jump back here. Now, we're going to jump back up there where we were. Actually, we're going to the other side of the castle. Alright. And then we're pretty much just going to escape this castle. Actually, I'm going to come back here in a little bit. Do this castle. How was it that we got out? Over here, thanks. That was the way.
Bye-bye!
You know, sit here thinking about it, it's not really a cheat. You can do this anyways, but I don't think this is the way they intended the game to be played, but you gotta be able to find this, and everybody won't find it. So then, that's it. Oh yeah, I ran past this dragon yet. I ain't fought no dragons yet. I'm gonna save him for a little later. That's Rolana's castle up there. And yeah, we could skip that whole part of the game if we wanted to. I know a lot of people said she's one of the... I was looking up the top 20 Souls game bosses the other day, hardest, and she got rated number 4 by somebody. I didn't really feel it was that hard, but...
Rolana?
It took me an hour to beat her.
Who do you think? Who was number 1?
Well... you know, a lot of people say it's Melania. I know people want to say it's the final boss in the DLC here, which I haven't played yet. But if I go back to like the Souls games, man, the original, what's their name? The 2 guys you fight, the Smog and it's in Dark Souls 1. It's the 2 golden guys you fight. And at the same time, that fight was just so tough for me, and it took me a while. Maybe even like there's just some tough. Now I haven't even played Sekiro. I started it, but I never actually beat it. I got to go do that. And if you stick it to this game right now, so far it's Melania. We'll see when I get to end of the DLC how I feel about the final boss in the DLC. I vaguely know who it is, and I know it's supposed to be pretty tough, so we'll see. Alright, where am I headed?
Yeah, that last fight DLC I remember is tough.
Now, did you beat it using summons, or did you beat it without?
No summons.
Alright, so my goal here, we'll see how it goes, is to pretty much beat the whole game without summons. But I'm not saying for sure that's gonna happen. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, that's Rolana's castle, right? Yeah, I need to get over there. Let's see.
I like what they're trying to do with Path of Exile 2. Because when you play these ARPGs, you know, the gameplay is fast, right? You play Diablo 3, or they don't want it to turn into just a one button kill everything type deal, right? They want a slower gameplay, kind of like the Souls. Like I said, you know, they're trying to make a Souls ARPG. I like the concept. I like the idea. But I've also heard streamers like Hog say, what did he say? That kind of soul stuff should not be in an ARPG. Now you can make the argument and say, well, why don't you just play a different ARPG? You know, like if you don't want a different kind of ARPG, basically the game that you're wanting has already been made, and they're trying to do something different here. You know, this could be a lot worse, where they could have gone the Ubisoft route, and they're you know, at least they didn't go the Diablo Immortal route, where they're where it's pay to win. We should be grateful that this is a good problem to have. It is a problem. The way they implemented their goals, their action plan to achieving their goal, Triple G, the implementation was bad. The concept sounds good, but the implementation was bad. They should not have gutted these builds. They should. I don't exactly know what they should have done. I'm trying to analyze the situation. That's why I didn't want to make a video right away and say something that I haven't thought about. It seems like a lot of streamers and content creators, they speak too quickly. They pass judgment too quickly. You know, I don't want to say that the game is just bad without any sort of constructive criticism. I don't want to say, oh, it just sucks. I want to be able to articulate, like, what is actually wrong with the game. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of these content creators, you know, they speak too quickly. I understand that the game is bad right now, but why is it bad?
Well, you were talking to me about it, and I told you, and I feel like if they're gonna nerf and respec weapons and stuff, they should give you a free option to respec your character.
I think they did do that, but even if you respec, you know, what am I gonna respec to? Because regardless,
I mean,
the game is just. For me, I've been playing Souls for quite a while now, so to me this isn't anything new, like a difficult gameplay. But Hog made a good point. He said that the biggest fun in an ARPG is the power fantasy. Like, you see your character basically become really, really powerful, that it could just kill everything on the map. And I totally get that. Even Elden Ring and the other Souls games, you can farm, or you know, just you can keep leveling up to where your character becomes incredibly powerful. You're one-shotting bosses. You can do that in Souls games too. There is a power fantasy in the Souls games as well. That's why I say the concept, Triple G, their goal, I do like the sound of that, but their implementation was just bad. I don't understand why they went this route. why they needed to do a big patch where they gut everything. Enemies are too hard, you know. I'm debating on showing y'all what I ended up doing with the Ice Strike Monk. But as you can see with my Gemling Legionnaire, I'm not really running into any sort of big problems. I'm not one-shotting everything like I used to, but at the same time, I'm also not in big trouble. I'll die every once in a while. So what my recommendation for people is to just, I understand where you guys are coming from. If you enjoy the game, don't let people tell you to not play the game. That's number one. You know, I understand the streamers, they have their opinions about it. They have their sentiments about it. They have their thoughts on it. And their opinion, I feel like, has merit. Their statements, their opinion, it definitely has some merit because, you know, I spent weeks of my life on my Ice Strike Monk, and now it's practically dead. That build is dead. I can play it, I can run maps, but I'm gonna be sitting there rolling around for an hour. And other content creators have expressed this. They're like, you know, the game is boring because all I'm doing is rolling around trying to avoid getting hit. Because I'm trying to avoid getting one-shotted.
Fire in the hole!
So as far as like the game being overall bad, being overall not fun, I have mixed sentiments about it. I have mixed feelings about it because Ice Strike Monk, yeah, I was pissed at when I logged on, tried to play Monk, and it was just rough. I hated it. Then I go to my Gemling Legionnaire, and oh, it's not too bad. I'm actually having a little fun. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there having fun with the game. So don't let us tell you what you can and can't enjoy. If you like it, you like it.
But you know, sitting here hearing you talk, they may have done it on purpose. They're like, we see people playing it this way, we want them to play it this way. Maybe it's for them to see something.
Oh, just they go to the extremes to see what would happen, right?
You said the game's not actually done yet, right?
Yeah, it's in early access right now. But I'll hear other content creators say like, no, I don't want to hear that excuse. But that's what, it's not like it's a lie. It's not a lie. The game is in early access.
Fire in the hole!
It doesn't matter if it feels like a whole game. I don't know how they get that idea where they think it's a whole game. It doesn't feel like a whole game to me. Now, let's say Triple G completely drops the ball. They do an official release of the game, and it's like this. Then yeah, absolutely 100%. But a lot of the streamers and content creators for Path of Exile, they're ARPG people. You know, Souls isn't something they don't like those. I would go as far as to wager to say that they don't find those games fun. Versus people like you and me, we roll around for days. It don't matter. You know, we'll sit there and dodge and roll and block.
Yeah, I've been dying a lot lately. Yeah, I guess some people just wanna. That seems more like a spam player. They just wanna spam dive. There's some fun in that sometimes, but yeah, yeah. Oh.
With all that being said, Triple G's implementation of their so-called vision was bad. It was bad. They did not need to drop a big patch with all of these nerfs. They could have piecemealed this, little bit at a time. They would be doing that anyways. They already were doing that, so I don't understand why they couldn't do that this time around. And Triple G, if you're listening to this, it's not the difficulty or the rolling around of the game, of the Souls games, why they're fun. Those are just pieces of a bigger puzzle. Okay, Triple G, if you're listening to this, it's not the rolling around that makes a Souls game. It is not the difficulty that makes a Souls game. Those are just pieces to a bigger puzzle. Okay, beating a hard boss in an ARPG is gonna feel different than beating a boss in the Elden Ring DLC. It's just gonna feel different. ARPGs have always been loot-based. You know, item rewards, getting good gear. If players slog through for an hour trying to beat a boss and they get nothing at the end of it, then of course they're gonna be pissed. Yeah, they're gonna be pissed. I can see why they would be pissed. Elden Ring and the other Souls games, you know, there's something inherently rewarding about beating a hard boss. You know what you're gonna get when you fight this boss. And that's why the Bible tells you not to gamble, you know. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not trying to get all preachy on anybody.
I might need it.
I probably should have written down some notes so I can perfectly articulate my points. See that? Oh, he's not dead yet. See this? I fought 4 rares and they barely dropped. Look at these drops. These drops are terrible. Now Triple G, did I have fun fighting that guy? Yeah, it was a little fun.
No room.
But I got nothing. Look at this.
There'll be a ladder around here.
these aren't my final thoughts about the game. In the next video for Grizz and I will make my final final statement on it, my final final assessment of the game. You know, Gemling Legionnaire not doing too bad, but even then I haven't got to the end game yet. Ice Strike Monk, shitty gameplay. Shitty gameplay, did not enjoy it. Gemling Legionnaire, not too bad. And that is why I'm torn. But with that being said, Triple G, it's still problematic. What you guys have done here is problematic. This is not good. You can consider me an outlier. I enjoy the game because I am an outlier. I am a Souls enthusiast, and that is why I find enjoyment in this game. I enjoy slogging through the fights. I enjoy the longer fights and the harder bosses. But I guess in this regard, I am on everyone else's side when they say the game is not fun. When they say the game is bad and they say the game is not fun, I'm on their side. Because I can see why they say that. You guys think that rolling around and a hard boss is what makes a proper Souls game. It's not. It's not.
What do you... Hey there.
Now perhaps they did this because it's more cost efficient from a business side of things. But I'm trying to figure out how that would be the case.
Welcome. Yeah.
Fire in the hole! Foul fool!
Now, as of the making of this video, the devs reverted back the requirement for Tempest Bell they went from 4 to 6 or 4 to 10 back down to 4. Isn't there like a middle ground? Why go to the extremes? You could have done 5, you could have done 6, but no, you turned it all the way up to 10 and then went back down to 4. That don't make no sense to me. Yes, some of the builds, some of the skills, they needed to be nerfed. They were too overpowered. But why go to the extremes? Why? What was the point of that? Y'all didn't need to take it that far. Like really, you know, Tempest Bell, you go from 4 to 10, and then you ended up going back down to 4. There's other numbers, Triple G, believe it or not. There are other numbers in existence that you could use. You know, there's a number 5, there's the number 6. There are smaller numbers. Those do exist. The people that made this game, they got bought out by a Chinese company, Tencent. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Reloading. One down. Who's next?
What was that?
I'm trying to make it somewhere on the map, and just can't even find a way. Yeah, get over there.
Choke on this!
this at once. I take no pleasure in harming one of my own, but if you persist, I will do with her what I must.
If you wanted to present a challenging gameplay to the player, that should have been left up for the end game. That should not be during the story arcs. And buffing enemies and nerfing players to that degree is always a bad idea. You're gonna buff the monsters and then do a big nerf on almost every build. Almost every build was affected. Alright, that puts us at the 45-minute mark right there. Grizz, you got anything? Got anything?
In just a second. I would say, you know, I try not to get too caught up in it, but spiritually, there's just a lot of false teachers out there, and you guys got to be careful if you're trying to get closer with the Lord and just, you know, people talk a lot about faith, and they'll say it's faith, faith, but then they'll just go add works to it, and they really just can't help themselves. It seems like these same people will criticize others. Yeah, they're sitting here speaking a false gospel. You don't have a right to criticize anybody. So you just really got to be careful out there. If it's faith in Jesus Christ, you faith in whom He is and what He's done for you. It's not just faith in Jesus Christ. You have to have faith in whom He is and what He's done for you. And if you have that, you are saved. And people will say that, but then they'll go adding stuff to it, and it's very, very. It's very subliminal, I guess is what I would say. And they're just wrong. And it's disrespectful, it's blasphemous. Just be careful, folks. The Lord wants you with Him. He wants to be with you. He wants you in the kingdom of heaven. It's not like the Lord's saying, hell was made for the angels, not for man. The Lord doesn't want you in hell. He wants you in heaven with Him. Be careful. These false teachers have people thinking they don't deserve to come in, or even salvation is salvation. Once you're saved, you are saved. That's it. You're locked in. You can't get out. You cannot lose salvation. You cannot. People saying things, it's just painful to hear them talk sometimes.
Things like that garner a lot of popularity, and there's some financial gain in it, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, a lot of people, they'll tell you this thing, like, you know, they'll talk about once you doing works and it's going to get you gifts and stuff like that. I just wouldn't think about that, folks. That doesn't really matter. Like, your salvation is what's important, and somebody else's salvation. That's what's important. Don't worry about what you're going to get or not going to get. Whatever it is better than anything you've seen or been a part of here on earth. That's for sure. I could go to heaven and not get nothing and be like so happy. I just don't even like. Anyway, I was just seeing a lot of false gospels this weekend. It was really hard to watch, but they're out there. They're out there. Be careful, folks. The Lord loves you. Wants you with Him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there's a boss fight coming up. I will save that for the next video. For the last 10 minutes, I just want to finish what I was going on about with this game. I'm torn in the middle between the game being bad and the game being decent. I see the direction they're trying to go in, but the implementation was bad. The implementation was bad because they did these big number nerfs. which they should not have done. They needed to do it in smaller increments to find the sweet spot. I can make a case as to why they did things that way, because they want people to try the new stuff that they put in. They want people to try the new gems. They want people to try the Huntress. People will still try the Huntress, whether you nerf these builds or not. I was still gonna try the Huntress. So all the nerfs did was piss everybody off. And if you're gonna start nerfing everybody in the game unnecessarily, don't make the enemies harder. So now y'all did a hotfix, nerfing the enemy's health to 75%. You had to do that because you gutted these builds and made the enemies harder, which you did not need to do. You should have done smaller nerfs. I can't, aside from taking out Grim Feast from the game, I cannot think of anything that any good thing that came out of this game, out of Dawn of the Hunt. I cannot think of anything good that came out of it. I cannot think of anything beneficial. I haven't used a single new support gem because I'm afraid that I'll mess up my build, and then I'm gonna start dying all over the place with my one character. I'm glad that none of my characters are hardcore characters. Because if I had started with hardcore characters, I would have stopped playing the game a long time ago. You know, you imagine in the Souls games in Elden Ring, every time you die, you have to start over from the very beginning and have to get your souls, you know, have to level up. You have to do all these things.
If I wouldn't be playing very well.
POE 2, you heard it here first. POE 2 went from one of probably the best ARPG of all time. It went from that to one of the worst games released this year. Because of this ordeal, POE 2 will probably not get Game of the Year. Y'all went from being Triple G. This game went from being up there with classics, with Elden Ring, with what's another good game? A modern classic. What's another good one? I don't know. This game went from being up there with Elden Ring down to probably this is the worst debacle so far this year in the gaming industry. I know that's a hard take, but you know, you guys are free falling from the stratosphere right now. This game is free falling from the stratosphere. It's getting ready to crash. People are getting ready to leave. This should be a learning lesson for y'all. To not do drastic things like this. This was too much. Y'all went into the extremes. I'm a Souls player, and I'm saying that y'all went to the extremes. Some builds are rendered unplayable. How can you do that? How can you think that that's okay? To render some builds unplayable because you're afraid they're too overpowered. Overpowered stuff is fun. Believe it or not, people like overpowered stuff. That doesn't mean that they're never gonna step out of their comfort zone and play with weaker builds. That's not what that means. First time I played Elden Ring, guess what? I used the strongest build to get through the game. Later on, I started to experiment once I got comfortable. Once I got comfortable enough, then I started to mess around with everything else that's in the game. Every Souls game I played, that's what I did. There's no more power fantasy with this game. Even Souls games have power fantasy. That's why you farm souls. That's why you look for the strongest weapons. That's why you level up the weapons in Elden Ring. That's why you level up a build. Right? You wanna, because some people, they want to play with an overpowered build. That's what they have. They have fun doing that. For people like me, I like to have an overpowered build on hand and then make other characters to experiment with other builds. So do a lot of people. But now people can't experiment. They can't step out of their comfort zone because there is no comfort zone. You think people are gonna experiment with other builds and gamble with their hardcore character? Now, granted, they don't have to play hardcore, but that's what they want to do. They should be able to do that. You know, games like Souls and Elden Ring, the player character has the ability to make their character as weak or as strong as they want. I can choose to use overpowered builds, overpowered weapons, or I could step out of my comfort zone every once in a while and fight a boss without those overpowered mechanics in the game. The point is, I have the choice to do that. Y'all should have included a mechanic in the game instead of putting in a bunch of useless support gems. What y'all should have done was included a mechanic in the game where the players can purposefully challenge themselves and make their character weaker for more rewards, right? More risk, more reward. Like, for example, maybe you could put on a charm that makes your character weaker by 10% without having to change your build, without having to respec, right? You've got your character. Maybe use an item that reduces your character's power by 10%, but it ups your magic find by 10%. The point is, we have the choice to do that. You're leaving it up to us whether we want to do that or not. I can play with an overpowered build, but I'm not gonna get that much rewards, right? Now, if I choose to make my character weaker on purpose, now my risk reward ratio goes up. You see how that works? Triple G. Y'all should have included a mechanic in maps or during the Act 1 to Act 6 where you can use an item, or maybe I could use a second charm that makes my character weaker or slower by 10%. But then, you know, my magic find goes up 10%. And this time, make magic find more meaningful. You guys are trying to figure out what to do with magic find. Attach it to some sort of caveat. You know, instead of me having one charms for resistances, maybe there's you give me the option to have a secondary charm where, you know, my character's health is cut in half, but my magic find goes up by 15%. Something like that. That's how you do it. You want to make the game harder, that's how you do it. But that's going to be it for
Later,
us today. Stay tuned in. Y'all have a good day.